Look at Zevahim Daf Kov Tet, starting from Kov Hed Amud Bet, 19 lines down. Mishnah mentioned Helava Hazar Alav, someone kept on offering pieces of Korban, Korbanot he offered Hataot, for example, and he forgot it, he did it outside. He's according to Mishnah, he's Chayav separately for each one, and Rabbi Yossi is the only one. Marish Hakirish. Mahloket be'arba'a v'chamish ebrim, that only applies in 5 or 4 limbs of a same korban. The Marshal, because Rabbi Yossi holds tiktib la'asot Torah mentions it to make it. Kol hashlemu l'chayav eno chayav ha'achzir l'chayav for one korban, complete but not incomplete ones. Ava kol behema aktiv, and therefore it's referring to the entire animal. More so, according to Bishmon, every aktiv in limbs. Ava ever achab, if it's one limb, يعني you have separate parts. دبر على كل إنه حياة على خالد إنه حياة. ربي يخلون ربي يخلون مخلوق بإبرة خالد مخلوق single. More so, Rabbi Shimon holds مقترب penim shehasru, pieces of the sacrificial parts that need to be burnt that we can complete that you're missing. وهذا بحث خيار اللي offer that خياف. More so, but Rabbi Yossi holds جرح patur. أغلب بقى خمسة even but separate limbs. دبر على كل حياة وكل بإبرة they would agree that you're خياف. Obliged Ulam, this is a different arguing against Ulam. Amar Ulam says, Hakom maybe would agree. In the cases of a korban that is supposed to be burnt inside, that it became missing a piece, then you offer it outside, you're hayaf offering. The machlok only over here is when they have a korban that's meant to be burnt outside, it became incomplete, and you offer it outside. The more sevar patur, yes, holds it patur. The more sevar hayav, and Rabbi Shimon holds it chayav. You could have made a different version of Marabula, Hakamodi, Regis, Mukteh, which Shahasu Velo Bahus, Shabatur. Korban is meant to be burnt outside and it became incomplete and you offered outside, you're Patur. Lo Nahakula Mutre Panim Shahasu Velo Bahus. This version says they only disagree when it was supposed to be burnt inside. It became incomplete and you offered it outside. More Patur, Bezal Patur, Bersava Hayam, Bezal, Rishman Hayab. Now, according to the first version, according to the first version of Ula, the father Shmuel argues against him. Shmuel's father holds. Remember this concept before in Masechet. How do we know that if a piece of korban mizbeach that burst off, it popped off because of the fire, how do you know that you put it back? Kiman, who's according to Lokri against Yossi, because Yossi would hold that even pieces that burst from mizbeach are returned. And therefore the Shmuel argues. Okay. They don't have a child that Mishnah mentioned that you only chayav you put on the mizbeach and not on the rock or something. The Rishma holds yes, rock or anything you're chayav. Amar Rabbi knows the matter. Maybe why you hold it. You chayav for only a mizbeach. Tzitziva says they even noach mizbeach lashem. In order to be considered a sacrifice, you need a mizbeach. Rabbi Yochanan, my time the Rishma hold that anything works. Tzitziva says vayikach menoach et gidiha izim minha be'ala tzura Hashem. After Manoach and his wife found out about their son upcoming impending Nazir's son Shimshon, he brought a korban and he put it on a rock, like the angel told him to do. The Gemara says, "V'idach nami v'hakti ve'im mizbeach Hashem." What did the Rishon do? The pasuk of Noach that needs mizbeach. The Gemara says, "Hahud legavod alma." He only built it to make it like a stage of a height, to make it not necessarily because he needed to. Okay, v'idach nami, but according to Rabbi Yossi, hakti ve'yirach, what did he do? The pasuk of Noach, he used a stone, not a mizbeach. Over there is different because the angel told him to do the stone. Maybe in general you mizbeach. Give them a different answer. How many times the Rishon reason Rishon is? Continue what it says. The Rishon holds Mizbeach Petach Ol Mu'ad. In regards to Mizbeach at the entrance of a tent, the Mizbeach Behem Abama. Right? You need a Mizbeach in the Heichal, but not a Mizbeach on a Bama, where only when outside Mizbeach. Lefiga Helal Mizbeach Ben Chayav. Therefore, if you do it elsewhere on the rock or stone, you're Chayav. Tomorrow says Yatzah Mibail. 1 second. Is he Chayav? The Brisa says you're. The Brisa should have said you're saying you're Choba. Not your Chayav. Gemara says, no, hachi kama. Lefikach, b'shat yisur habamot ha'ela ha'asilat alei ben hayat. Since it works during the right times, therefore, if you're not doing a b'ma, yani if you have a mizbeach and you do it outside mizbeach, you're chayav. Okay. Rabbi Yossi says that the horns and the ramp and the mizbeach and a square shape, do you need that for a b'ma? So in times you didn't have mizbeach and you used to make a personal mizbeach outside, do you need to have these unique characteristics in Mizbeach in your personal b'ma? The Gemara says, Tanya Brit says, horns, ramp, square shape, and in the base, is required for a major b'ma, but not a minor b'ma. What is the difference? Major b'ma is the one that was publicly used for Bnei Israel during the times of Mishkan, and a minor one is a private one. Okay, Mishnah says, top of Koftet. Ehad Kodashim Kishvin, whether it's a kasher sacrifice, the Ehad Kodashim Kishvin Shaitan Paslan Bakodesh, or it's a korban that was pasul, but it's the pasul happened while it was already in the kadosh, meaning it yeah, something happened to it as it became kadosh. Let's say you brought it to the echal and it became tameh. So this happened after it was already being brought, the process already started. Then you offer it outside the Beit Mikdash, I have your chiyat. Ma'aleh kazayit min ha'olah u'me'umoreha b'chutz. Someone offered a kazayit worth of meat on the olah, on the sacrificial or on the sacrificial part outside. I have your chiyat. Okay. Kind of what says. Asher ya'aleh olah. That's what when you offer a olah, and the olah, I only know that if you offer an olah outside your chiyab, I know that even if you're offering the sacrificial parts of Hashem outside, the mureh hatat or the pieces of the hatat, the mureh koshikoshim or koshikoshim parts, the mureh koshikalim or kalim parts, you want to put zebach and you cut it to korban. Zebach. About even though even non-korbanot like the kometz and the lebanah, the flour or the incense of a korban mincha, back towards the incense itself, minhat kohanim or the korban mincha of kohanim, minhat kol mashiach or the mincha of kohen mashiach, amaneseach shoshat begin yana shoshat zevahim or the libations of the 3 gallon of wine, 3 gallon of water. Well, the pasuk says, "Ve'lepedach oil moed lo yavi enu." Can't bring it. It teaches you whatever you bring to the Owen Moed, once you bring it there, you're chayav to bring it outside. ואין לי אלא קודשים כשרים, I only allowed for kasher korban. Minan rabot paslen even pasul korbanot. Kigon halan, like for example, a case where the korban became pasul because you left it overnight. If left the courtyard, Batamar became Tameh Vesh, Nishchat, Hotman, Hotman Kamo, if it was slaughtered in the wrong with intention in the wrong time or place, like which is Pigul, Vishakilupusin, Virakodamorph, the blood was received by or thrown by a person who's pasul, when it's in the matalash when it's in the malam or if the blood was applied below instead of on top of the or top of the instead of below, when it's in the mahush or if the blood was put the outside of the echad, put it inside, or vice versa, when it's in the was supposed to be inside, put it outside. Pesach for Hadash, the or Pesach Harata, the story of not the right sake, which was required for those. Minayin, how do you know all those cases that if you offer it outside these Pesach korbanans, your Chesed Chayav, the Gemara says, Lo Yivi Enu Le'asot, which means Kol HaMitkabel B'Petach Ol Moed Hayavin Le'Bachot. Anything of korban that's accepted at the entrance of the Ol Moed, your Chayav if you offer it outside. The Gemara said, next part of the Mishnah said, and by the Ksayv in Olah, if you offer an Olah of a Ksayv of an Olah. Olah, the Gemara, it sounds like only the Olah and sacrificial parts. Shamim B'Merin Lo, but not the Samim. Where it says Tanim Lahad Tanim Bran. Right, it says the Mishnah says as well. Olav and Morin Misafin L'Gzel Ha'olat and Bachut. And Olah and sacrificial parts of the Olah can combine to make you chayav for the minimum amount. Well, chayav then mishum pigul b'notar also to make someone chayav if they do pigul or notar tameh. Seemingly, shalim is excluded. Where it says Bisham Ha'olat Ha'olat until min. I understand why you chayav for Olah because it's burned completely. That's why it's combined, but initially not. But that's the case. Why are you chayav? Why are you chayav for pigul notar and tameh? Should be the same halacha regarding for both. Where it says, Mishnah says as well, Kol HaPigul Misafin V'Chon Trim Misafin, all pigul and notar combined. Kasha pigul pigul, stira against pigul. Kasha notar, stira against notar. Where it says, pigul kasha not stira against no pigul, because, right, meaning, well, what's the question? The Brisa says that seemingly the meat and the sacrificial parts of a shamim do not combine to make a kazayit in order to chayav for pigul and tameh. Mishnah says they do combine. Or says no. Pigul, not a question. Come to pigul. In the Mishnah, we're in a case of actual eating pigul. Come to mashal pigul. In the Braytatum case, where you're trying to have intention to make pigul, the meat and the sacrificial parts don't combine. But eating it would combine. You tell the American also the notar does not combine. Not a stira, sorry. Come to notar. In our case, you want case of eating the notar. Continue to rule the actual and zakadon. In the case of the Braytatum case where it wasn't left overnight, the meat and the sacrificial parts become notar if they're left over from a korban that was destroyed or ruined before the blood was thrown. Since that korban does not become notar unless the blood is thrown, therefore, if nothing remains, it is not going to become notar. Umani who's according to it says, we shall marry holds, calls the any korban in the Torah that was slaughtered and the meat or the sacrificial parts were destroyed. Then at least a kizayit of meat remains, uksayit helev or a kizayit of the sacrificial parts. Zorek the dam and you throw the blood. Hati zayid asar v'hazit halib. Even if you have a half a zayid of meat and half a zayid of halib, eno zorek the dam you cannot throw the blood. Right, so that they don't combine. Well, Allah regarding to Allah, hati zayid kasar v'hazit like halib. You do have a half and half. Zorek the dam you do throw it. If it is shuklak lib, burn it anyhow. When ha regarding mincha, after the kulak even if all exists, lo yizrak you don't throw it. So you see from here clearly that a desired amount of meat and sacrificial parts of shleim do not combine like for the blood. But in Allah, yes. The Gemara says, Minha might what does Minha have to do with throwing blood? He said, Minha, no. Who's mentioning Minha? There's no blood in Minha. The Gemara says, Minha nitzachim the libation Minha that comes with the animal is also. So since you have a libation Minha that's coming with the animal, it's also tied to the blood throwing of the animal. And therefore, if there's no blood, no, then there's no Mincha. Okay, Mishnah. I'll come next to the flower of Mincha, the incense of Mincha. Back to the regular Quran, Torah incense. Mincha Kohanim, the Mincha Kohanim. Mincha Kohen Mashiach, the Kohen Mashiach Mincha. Mincha Nesachim, or the libation Mincha. Shekri Ma, how many Kizad Bahos, if you offer a Kizad that outside the Bet HaMikdash, Hayav. Lezer Pater, Ad Shekri Kohen, Vela Fatur, unless you offer all of it, not just the Kizad. V'kulan, and if you offer any of these items inside, Shekri Mifrim, V'shiyem Min Kizad Ve'ekru Bahot, and you have to offer a piece of the Kizad outside, and you burn outside, Hayav Hayav. V'kulan, additionally, all these, shahasu out of kosher, if anything you're missing a piece, v'ekri v'chutz, then you bring it outside, patur patur. Okay. Hamakriv b'kodashim imun v'chutz, and someone offers the meat of a korban, that's an animal korban or a sacrificial part outside, chayav for bringing parts as well. We'll stop here.